Good Tuesday morning. It is October the 4th, and I hope you're safe and well and blessed this morning. Once again, I apologize about yesterday. Uh, it wasn't going to happen yesterday. Anyway, today it is going to happen, and we are continuing on in my friend Joe Miller's book, Dog Walk Talk. While I'm walking, God is talking. You can pick it up online. I hope that you do. You can go in and Google author Joe Miller, and you'll find it. I've had several people tell me that they've already received it. Today today's title is 3 a.m. Friends. I want to read one verse to you this morning. This comes out of Romans chapter 13. It is verse 10. And Paul writes, "Love does no harm to its neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. 3 a.m. Friends. It begins with a quote from Leo I won't say this name right, Buscaglia. But I quote, "Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around." End of quote. Joe writes, a heart is crying out for the most inopportune, at the end, most inopportune time. It's in deep pain and despair, and there are valid reasons. But that's not the point. The point is, who's going to show up, stand up, and point up, regardless of the inconvenience for that hurting heart? I'm pretty sure it will be a 3 a.m. friend. Here's a scenario. A young couple with 2 young children must constantly scratch and claw to make ends meet. And the washing machine unceremoniously ceases to work in the middle of the first load of the weekend wash. Through Craigslist, they find a replacement nearby and manage to get the machine home. Neither knows a thing about tools, home repairs, or maintenance, and so their hope now is that a 3 a.m. friend can come to show them how to disconnect the old and hook up the new. Scenario 2. A couple both well into their 70s. What had been hoped to be a pleasant winter season of their life together is anything but that. While he's had his share of medical issues, older age annoyances, boy, do I know that, as he preferred to call them anyway, she is being progressively in the early throes of being claimed by the cruel, relentless tentacles of dementia and elder depression. Because of their financial situation, he's been thrust into the unanticipated role of full-time caretaker for his wife, and often feels like he is in a living hell. What family there is consists of those who only help occasionally, those who are far away but want to help, and also those who are blinded by the reality of the situation and don't want to help. Lacking a 3 a.m. friend will eventually spell trouble for Gramps as he heads towards a crash and burn for trying to exceed his own capabilities in the situation that he's facing. So, what is such a friend, this 3 a.m. friend? Who are they? Why are they the way they are? Where do they come from? A 3 a.m. friend is not that friend who answers your drunk call at 3 a.m., though they could have been to some. Rather, there are folks that are out there with the biggest hearts for others. They value others, and they're in it because that's just how they're wired. They see things differently, and they are attuned to others' needs, whether they're asked or not. They're not necessarily long-standing friends. They're just simply friends who love their neighbors as, through God's grace, they've learned to love themselves. A 3 a.m. friend will always be there when they're needed, and not necessarily because they were asked to be, nor because they really want to be. They're there because that's just who they are. Joe says a 3 a.m. friend is humble. And often they have faced situations where a 3 a.m. friend has been available in their time of need. Many 3 a.m. friends know the power of paying it forward. They're not looking for recognition. They're not looking for any kind of affirmation. That's not what love for others seeks. Joe says as a young boy, there was an extended period when his family was, as he calls it, poorer than dirt. So much that there were times when the parents had no food in the house. And they were people of great faith. And while they never lost hope, at times things got tense. Invariably, some 3 a.m. friend would show up with a basket full or a box full of food or meals. He said, I remember times when my parents didn't even know the people that showed up. Those folks, excuse me, those folks had simply heard from a friend of a friend that they were having troubles. And he says, on an uglier note, I remember vividly the 20 to 30 year span of my life when I was, as he calls it, in my cups. He said, I was very adept at practicing drunk. And during that time, if I was in a particularly bad place mentally and emotionally, I would periodically make quite disturbing drunk calls in the wee hours of the morning to a couple of folks who I later realized were truly 3 a.m. friends, figuratively and literally. They would sometimes call me back within a day or two and check up on me. And they would often use that time to lovingly try to get through to me while I was in a better state of mind. They only loved on me and prayed for me. And as my heart began to change over the year, Joe says, I came to see how a big role love your neighbor had played in my life. He says, I gained insight into how through compassion and empathy and awareness and action, he said, I could humbly love my own neighbor as myself and reach out to those that were hurting. Even at inconvenient times with unpleasant circumstances and when my head was screaming no, I knew I had to be that 3 a.m. friend. In my current enlightened frame of mind, I heartily embrace the fact that it is Jesus. It's the Jesus way of doing life. So how about you? Do you tend to see the needs of others as issues of inconvenience? Or do you see it through 3 a.m. eyes? How are you at anticipating or sensing needs in others that are all too often not openly expressed? It may take rethinking priorities and rearranging your comfortable schedule. But you can be a blessing and be personally blessed as you demonstrate love to your neighbor at 3 a.m. or any other time, of course. I'm Pastor Mark. Love you guys. Be safe, be well, be blessed, be strong. Go do something for Jesus. Jesus says, when you've done it to the least of these brothers of mine, you have done it to me. I'll see you tomorrow.